All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to talk about something called the haunted mind experiment. And yeah, it gets a little spooky, but probably not for the reasons you're thinking.
I mean, think about that for a second. This one question is the whole point of this entire experiment. It's asking us to stop looking at the creaky floorboards and shadowy corners and start looking at the one place we can never really escape from, our own minds.
Okay, so picture this. We've got this old, sprawling 17th century mansion. You know the type, the kind that just looks like it should be haunted. And this place, it's not just a house. It's about to become a laboratory for the mind. And look, the goal here wasn't to go ghost hunting with a bunch of fancy equipment, not at all. It was way deeper than that. The real question was, what happens to a person's brain when you stick them in a place that's supposedly haunted, all by themselves? How much can our own minds bend reality before it just snaps?
And at first, oh yeah, the house was playing its part perfectly. The researcher is writing down notes about this, just this chilling feeling in the air. They're feeling those classic cold spots everyone talks about, and there's just this constant sense that something is off. It was basically checking all the boxes for a classic haunted house story.
But here's the thing. This wasn't just some spooky sleepover. This was a serious experiment. There were strict rules. For one, total isolation. No phone, no internet, nothing to influence the results. Two, they had to write down everything. Every creak, every feeling, every weird shadow. And maybe the most important rule, they had to do daily psych evaluations on themselves to keep track of what was going on in their own head.
All right, and this is where it starts to get really, really interesting. We're moving into phase 2, and this is basically a showdown between what you feel and what the data actually says. So you've got this battle, right? In one corner, you have pure human feeling, that heart-pounding terror when you feel a cold spot or think you hear a whisper. And in the other corner, you've got the cold, hard facts from thermal cameras, sound meters, and motion detectors. All the stuff that doesn't have feelings. You can just imagine the struggle inside the researcher's head, right? I mean, it's easy to be objective in a nice, clean lab during the day, but when you're all alone in a creepy mansion at 3 in the morning, what do you trust more? The blinking light on a machine or the goosebumps on your own skin? And pretty soon the machines started talking, and they were telling a very different story. All those hauntings, well, they started to fall apart. That spooky moan from the hallway? Nope, just the old pipes groaning. That icy chill? Just a draft from a loose window. Bit by bit, the scientific data was just picking the ghost story apart. And this is the big twist. The whole experiment started to shift. It wasn't really about a haunted house anymore. It became about the crazy, complex maze of our own minds and just how powerful our expectations can be.
I mean, listen to this. It's a direct quote from the researcher's journal. I felt a deathly chill creep over me, a sure sign of a ghostly presence. See that? The feeling, the chill, was totally real. But that second part, a sure sign of a ghostly presence, that was a story the brain told itself, because that's exactly what it was expecting to find. And this is when the light bulbs really start going off. That cold spot that felt like a ghost, the thermal camera showed it was just a draft coming up through the floor. The restless spirit moaning, just the old pipes making noise as they cooled down. You get the picture. Every supernatural event had a perfectly natural explanation. So what was actually happening here? It's kind of like the placebo effect, where you think you're getting medicine and you feel better. Well, this is the reverse. It's sometimes called the nocebo effect. The researcher expected something scary to happen, so their brain took every little sound, every little draft, and turned it into proof of a ghost. The fear was real, but the cause was all in their head. And this is so much bigger than just one creepy old house, right? It tells us something huge about ourselves. When we come across something we don't understand, our brains just hate that void. They need to fill it with a story. And a lot of the time, a supernatural story is just way more exciting than, oh, it was the pipes. Which brings us to the grand finale, the big takeaway from this whole thing. And the funny thing is, the experiment did find a haunting, just not where anyone expected. I absolutely love this final quote from the researcher. They wrote, "The house wasn't haunted, but my mind certainly was." Wow. I mean, how perfect is that? It's this incredible realization that the ghosts weren't rattling chains in the attic. They were inside their own head, built out of their own fears and expectations.
So there you have it. The final conclusion is that the entire haunting, the creepy vibe, the cold spots, the weird noises, it was all a psychological projection. It was like the mind was a movie projector and the house was just a blank screen. It was primed to see a ghost movie, and that's exactly what it showed. And you can bet this experience changed the researcher forever. It completely flipped their understanding of reality on its head, showing just how easily our own minds can fool us. They gained this whole new respect for fear, but also for our ability to fight back against it with logic and reason. So, as we wrap this up, the experiment might be over, but it leaves a big question for all of us, doesn't it? It makes you wonder, what ghosts are we creating in our own lives? What stories are our minds telling us based on our own fears and expectations? Definitely something to chew on.